my world that I want to have a little pride in. My world, and it's not a place I have to hide in. Life's not worth a damn till you can say I am what I am.
Good afternoon and welcome to Dublin City FM. You're listening to LGBTQ Live with myself, Mick Fitzgerald, and today we're delighted to welcome back a long-standing friend of the programme, Emma Murphy. Emma, welcome back again to Dublin City and of course the LGBTQ Live.
Oh, thanks a million. Lovely to be back.
Yeah, Emma, we'll get the hard stuff out of the way. You've been, how can I put it, you've experienced personal tragedy in the last few weeks. How are you getting through it?
Yeah, Mick, I mean, thanks a million, and thanks for having me on today. And I suppose it's been a tough month for myself and for my family. My sister Colleen passed away just at the end of January, and very unexpectedly and in very tragic circumstances. So we're coping. We're coping as best as any family can. We're trying to fill the void. There's a massive void in our family. She was a light and a beacon in our house. We're the 6 of us kids and my mum and dad, so we're very close. We've lots of different personalities and lots of different colour and vibrancy in our house, so she was a huge part of that, and we will always struggle to fill that void.
Of course, no. It's I find it is always doubly tragic or exponentially tragic when it's a young person.
Yeah, she's 23, so
yeah.
23 years old. She was 12 weeks away from finishing her degree. She was studying international hospitality management, doing a lot of travelling. And we're left with lots of questions and no answers, and for a young person who is has their life ahead of them, with such a bright future, and such a kind person. She was such an empathetic person, very vibrant, bubbly, loved by anyone who ever met her, and we're struggling with that, I think.
Yeah, but no, I mean, when anybody passes away, whether they're old or whatever, but particularly when they're close, it's something you have to work through, and everybody does it individually.
Yeah, and I think we do have to do our individual workings, and we're trying to work as a family as well. The first kind of month has been very much about we've had so many people come, the support that we've had as a family, and the support that I've had personally is something that I'll never forget, and something that I could never have imagined. You never imagine something like this happening to your family, in the role that I work in. You experience other families kind of have gone through similar and the same, and you're trying to empathise with them, and you're trying to, console them. But until it happens on your doorstep, you actually, it's a different reality, really.
Yeah. The last time we had you on, Emma, I think it was around the time of the 2016 general election. Now, you're one of the few LGBT politicians, and you've never, as I say, you haven't shouted it from the rooftops, but you've never hidden it either. I want to start off by asking you, since we passed the marriage equality law, psychologically, how has that impacted? Has it empowered, or is it just, as we say, normalised the situation?
I think it's a bit of both. I think it has to be a bit of both. I think it was 2006. It was March 2016 the last time I was here, so we were fairly fresh off the referendum. We were 9 months past, and a little bit wet behind the ears. But I think that there is an element of normalising, but in terms of empowerment, I think I think the younger generation coming through, that is their new normal. Kind of the today's children and today's teenagers. I look at my own nephews, and I've 5 nephews and a niece, and I'm mad about them all. But myself and my partner Caroline are getting married in October. And for
congratulations!
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, we are. We're getting married in October, and for them, that there is no difference between myself and Caroline getting married, or my brother Colin and his partner Mary Ellen who are getting married next year. There's no difference there, so they don't see any difference. They don't see they don't see that there should be any difference. They don't see that it's anything but the new normal. So,
absolutely, yeah. I think that's one of the things, particularly for my generation, just to see that, and we've now got more of a level playing field.
I think we still we're not done. We're not done. We've got a bit of a level playing field, but I think we still have a lot of work to do, and a lot of and a lot of hurdles to overcome in terms of, marriage equality can't just be the end for the LGBT.
No, it's the start.
It's the start.
Yeah.
It's the start of it's the start of creating something that is that everybody is societally aware of, but not in a negative connotation or in terms of fear, but in terms of something that, when I came out, I was 23, nearly 24. People are coming out younger and younger and younger now, which is so important. That they actually feel comfortable in their schools, in their colleges, in their home lives, to be able to come in and say, I'm bringing home Jonathan and not Jennifer, or vice versa. So that is we've a lot of work to do and a long way to go.
Yeah. You're involved in two of the areas where I think both women and LGBTQ are underrepresented. One is sport and the other is politics. For instance, with sport, I've always said if a woman is good at sport, they'll always say, "Oh, she's a lesbian." What's your experience with sport? Is it more accepting, or is it?
Sport is a hugely important part of my life, and it's not.
You're still a player, aren't you?
Yeah, just about now. My geriatric legs. I've just come back from a tournament in The Hague this weekend with my teammates, which was a nice relief for me to be able to spend some time with a lot of people that I have a lot of love and affection for. And I play for Ballyboden Wanderers GAA club up in the mountains in South Dublin, which is a rural club in Dublin, which is entertaining.
And a very successful one, isn't it?
Yeah, we won the junior championship in our division last year. So we are we had a good year, and we are. But the great thing about women in sport, and if you look at our club, we have more mums than we have non-mums.
Okay.
On our team. We have a vast range of ages. One of the best players, probably the best player that's ever played for our club in ladies football, is still playing, and she was 40 last week. So and we have
fit
and so you're fit enough, but it's great for your head. Sport is so important for people, no matter what your gender, what your sexual orientation, whoever. Sport is really important for me because it's an outlet that lets me switch off from work, switch off from life, switch off from politics. You're meeting people constantly. It's so socially important. It's and it's it's fun and it's athletic, and you're using up positive energy, which is something that for me I think is just so important.
Yeah, it's interesting you should say that because earlier in the year or last year I was talking to another woman who's LGBT, and she was saying she's playing GAA as well. She was saying she was the only LGBT person on that team. Now I suspect she may not be, but is it much more open in women's sport, or do people still hide it a bit?
I think people personally might hide it, but I mean I suppose in sport, I think women's sport, it is much more open. I think it's because as well women and men are different, and not based on sexual orientation, but based on their gender. Women tend to talk an awful lot more, and there's an awful lot more.
And they're more supportive.
Yeah, I think. But look, I mean, there's lads and there's women, and sport is very different from my own experience, given the diversity and kind of age ranges, that we would play with, say, in our own sport. I think that helps, and I think there's an awful lot of when you've got a lot of mums on a team, they are so much more aware of, they're so empathetic, and they've got their own children and their own families, so there there is that kind of social awareness as well. I was a bit, I'll be honest about it, I was a bit that male chauvinist about sport until about 3 years ago. I watched the Women's World Cup in soccer, and I thought, this is really good. I mean, it was in Canada and it was on late at night, and I thought to myself, now if you're looking to do like for like, you're not going to get it. No.
Yeah, but when I watched women's sport, the women's soccer, it was really good, really good. But you had to make that mindset change.
And I think you do find that women's sport is becoming more and more watchable. If you watch, say, the Ladies All-Ireland final here last year in Gaelic football, I mean, that was one of the biggest watched women's sporting events ever. And I mean, the 2020 movement for vibrancy for women in sport and the more visibility for women in sport, it's so important. It's so important for young girls to see that they are as equal as the young boys coming through, that they have every opportunity to play in Croke Park or play in the Aviva Stadium or play, play basketball or whatever their sport is, and that they're just as important. But women's sport tends to be more entertaining to watch because you know, it's actually an awful lot more free flowing, and it's less tactical and more passion, I think, a lot of the times with it as well. And I think that that's something that is coming more and more to the forefront. And you know, that's it. Like, it can only be positive, but there's a lot of work to do in vibrancy and visibility for women's sport.
How important, you talk about visibility. Now, I've always said if RTE were going to be, you know, the equal opportunity that they say they are, you should get 50% or at least 40% women's sport. Now, I suspect the amount of women's sport they show is far, far less than that.
I'm not sure of the statistics, but it is very, very much. I mean, there's two organisations that have done an awful lot for women's sport in this country at them, and Lidl are one, and TG4 are the other.
Yeah. Lidl have done really well, haven't they?
Lidl's partnership with the LGFA is something that, you know, when you're looking at sport and business and, you know, all these organisations that look at, they put it to the forefront as this is the right way to go about, you know, sport and business coming together, but corporate partnerships. And I mean, I work in the charity sector, so I'm constantly working in corporate partnerships. And ourselves in the Down Syndrome Centre, we have a partnership with Leinster Rugby for the next 2 years, and that's again showing the kind of community involvement and the importance in sport, and particularly for our children with disabilities. So when you're looking at kind of the female side of it, what Lidl have done is just it's so smart. Yeah. It's really, really smart, and it's smart, and it's been so positive for sport, but because now people actually associate Lidl with ladies football.
Absolutely,
you know, and you know, it
took a German company to do that, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, I think what they've kind of done in terms of looking at how women's sport is actually where the impetus is needed. So, for example, ours is a small club up in the mountains, and last year a parent applied to a Lidl competition. I coached the under-11s at our club, and we started juvenile football for girls just 2 years ago at the club. So we now have a great little under-8s team coming through and an under-11s team, and I coached the under-11s. But a parent actually applied to Lidl put it forward their story, you know, for kit and for gear for the kids, and he entered the competition. He ended up winning the local Lidl competition, and the kit that we got, you know, it's so invaluable to the club. Like it was like €1,200 worth of kit between a set of jerseys, footballs, you know, cones, all this type of equipment to a small club. That's so important. And that's where Lidl are putting their focus. They're putting the focus at grassroots. And yes, they're getting the recognition for it at top level, but you know, from the LGFA and, you know, from the All Ireland series and all of that, but you can actually see their association there on the ground, which is making a massive difference.
Just asking you about spectators, because I have another LGBT friend, and she loves rugby. She just can't get enough of Munster rugby and Ireland rugby. And I said to her, why don't you watch women's rugby? It's not the same. And are you mainly getting a female spectator, Grace, or are you getting males as well? Or
I can imagine it's a good mixture of both. I mean, I always find women's rugby very entertaining to watch, and to be honest, they're so brave. Because, you know, like male and anyone that plays rugby has to have such a strong constitution, because
absolutely.
The physicality
it's very physical, isn't it?
The physicality in it is just, you're putting your body through so much. And watching women's rugby, you know, we have an excellent sevens team that are doing extremely well at women's level, and they're going toe to toe with the men's team from a success rate, and we've got an excellent 15s team, and remember, female rugby players in Ireland aren't professional. You know, that's something that is, they're not professional, whereas their English counterparts have gone professional, and that's going to see huge strides then from an English perspective. And if we are serious about you know, female sport, that's a side that we really do need to look at, you know, the professionalisation of how we treat our international rugby players, because I mean, these girls are pulling on they're pulling on an Irish jersey. I mean, the pride levels are just, you know, absolutely phenomenal. You see last night Ciara McGeehan winning a bronze medal, and Mark English winning a bronze medal in the European indoors, two extremely class athletes. But when I looked at the independent.ie today, I saw an article on Mark English, but no article on Ciara McGeehan. You know, and why? You know what? You know, and you're kind of looking at, you know, the investment that we need to put into sport, and then you're looking at our ladies footballers, like last year, the Irish footballing team, who actually had to go and essentially protest to get better conditions, not pay, just conditions, that they're not handing back their tracksuits in an airport and putting them into a bag, which is what they were doing when they're going out to represent our national team. And I'm sure that the FAI and other organisations can afford to put, you know, a tracksuit and kit on the backs of these girls, where they can keep, and actually, you know, when they're going out to represent their country. It's not that's the minimum that they should be asking for.
Yeah. The other bit when I lived in Australia, women's sport is valued over there, you know, because you know, they're representing their country, and as a result of that, it gets shown on television. Is that something we really need to up our game?
Yeah, we do. We really do need to up our game. I mean, you see, even say the Australian rules side of this. I mean, the professional side of Australian rules. And you look at,
we've got a few women over there now.
Cora Staunton and Sarah Rowe, and amongst others that have gone out this year to, you know, to play in the professional AWFLs, and that's, you know, that can only be, you know, that should be setting a benchmark and a marker for us to actually put women's sport on television. And you know, when you turn on the Sunday game on a Sunday night after watching the league matches, and you know, it's tokenism at the end, you know, that maybe the camogie might be thrown in here or the football might be thrown in there, but it's, you know, it's
still very male oriented, isn't it?
Here's how we give you we'll give you all of the camogie reports in less than a minute, you know, and you know, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. I mean, I love nothing more than going to Tallaght Stadium and watching the women's matches. You know, it's something that, I mean, it's very close to where I live, and it's my constituency, and you know, I love going to Tallaght Stadium, and I'd watch any type of sport. I love sport. And my dad always said that my goal in life was to be Jimmy McGee, but I love
Jimmy never played.
No. But I love watching sport. I think it's, you know, that there is that kind of element to it. But I mean, watching, you know, going into Tallaght Stadium, watching the girls playing their Ireland matches in Tallaght Stadium, it's fantastic. But you need more people doing that. But if they were on television, it would give a much deeper audience. And you know, we've like some of the female sports stars that we've had in this country, you know, looking at young Kelly Harrington, like what she's doing, she's just phenomenal boxer. Katie Taylor, you know, it's when it's world championship level and European championship level, put them on television, like through the earlier rounds, and you know, track them, and you know, we need to be doing that, like, you know, with our minor sports right across the board, what we perceive as minor sports, you know, right across the board. So like, I mean, we do need an awful lot more energy.
Yeah. Well, I am proud to say that not at this radio station, but long before she won an Olympic medal, I had Katie Taylor on the radio. So you know, that was when, as I say, she was just an Irish champion. A controversial issue I'm going to put to you, Emma. 2 weeks ago, Martina Navratilova, my favourite women's tennis player of all time, she revolutionised the game. She put her foot in it, and she's since apologised about saying that trans women should not be in sport. And she called them cheats at the time, which she has come back and said. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I was involved at the Ireland's bid to host the Gay Games in and we came second to Paris. And that's 5 or 6 years ago at this stage, and this was something that was brought up with us at the time, you know, because there's a role for everybody in sport, and I completely disagree with Martina Navratilova. You know, we need to find space for people in sport where there's no cheating element. It's not, nobody's cheating based on their gender, or you know, and that's, you know, it's such a vague and woolly area, but we do need to actually look at it right across the board in sport, but kind of internationally, in terms of international recognition. And you know, if somebody wants to come and play sport, regardless of their gender, their age, they should be allowed to play in whatever sport that they want to play in. And particularly with this is as well with the Gender Recognition Act here, there should be, like, in my opinion, this is where we needed more depth within the Gender Recognition Act, in terms of kind of grey and fuzzy areas. So we're actually not demoralizing people. We're not hitting at their self-confidence. We're telling people that they're socially not acceptable in a sport because they were born in the wrong body. And that, to me, is not something that ever will sit right with me. So we need to be more and more acceptable. We need to actually find a space and legislate for that in terms of internationally, but also within our own sports. I think it's absolutely something we should be looking at.
Sure. Yeah, no, but the one that always stands out for me is Caster Semenya.
Amazing.
I mean, what an athlete. Fabulous athlete. Now we're going to say, well, it's like we're going to have to put a weight on your back because you're a bit...
You're a bit too good for us,
Yeah.
so thanks very much. No, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
The new Nike ad is brilliant.
Yeah.
The Serena Williams Nike ad, and she features in that, and I just, Caster Semenya features in that. And you're looking at all of these different women with, and you can't help but actually smile and be empowered by them because, they have so many more different challenges than anybody who's just anyone that's just going into sport. And that ad it's the best box ticking exercise for women in sport. It's really empowering.
Yeah. Let's go on to the politics then, because you're a city well, you're a South Dublin councillor for the Rathfarnham ward. I've had a look. I'm not too sure about Dublin or South Dublin because I don't know enough people. But on Dublin City Council, I had a look. 31% women were voted in the last time round, and I think 5% LGBT.
Yeah.
And that's even going to drop because 2 of the LGBT members of Dublin City Council are not going to run. How important do you think it is for LGBT people to be represented in politics, and does it need to be visible that they are LGBT?
Yeah, it's important. Of course, it's important. And I think it's not something I've ever shied away from. But my sexual orientation, I'm a person first, and
of course,
that's something that I'm very proud to be a member of the LGBT community. And I think I'm always conscious of that I am a member of the community and everything that I do in politics. Yes, absolutely. We need to be broadly more I think politics in general needs to have more diversity within what we have at the moment. From a gender perspective, I think we're probably one of the better councils from gender point of view. I think we're fairly high enough. My own ward actually has out of the 6 sitting councillors,
at least 3 anyway.
We have 4.
Is it 4? Yeah,
4. Sorry, it's Paula Donovan, Deirdre O'Donovan, myself, and Sarah Holland. So 4 out of 6. 4 to 6, and it actually was 5 out of 6 until Anne-Marie Dermody stepped down 2 years ago. So we actually were quite high. But in terms of LGBT members, there's only myself and a good pal of yours, Francis Timmins. We did have Senator Fintan Moorfield before he left us for higher office.
Higher office, as we say,
and no better man. Fintan is a great guy. So there is, as far as I'm aware, and I might be leaving somebody out, but there's just the 2 of us, which is 2 out of 40. So
it's very low, isn't it?
It's very low, and from my own perspective, it is important, and it always has been something that's been very important to me, and it's something that, from a party perspective, that I've always found really empowering. It's something that's very much recognised in terms of, say, my partner Caroline. Caroline would come to political events with me, would always have a very much level of positivity towards us. There's never been anything from a negative perspective.
Sure.
And I think that that's kind of important, but it's important to keep things on the agenda as well. If there's something that kind of crops up or something that's quite negative, that you're in a space to actually show that there is a bit of difference there, and you can actually be different, and for me, I'd love to see more diversity in the council.
I want to come back to something else as well. You're running in the Rathfarnham ward.
New ward would
it's
be
a new ward.
for Hesbor and Abrina.
Now I'll be very open about this, and I've said it to people. I'm not convinced there's 2 Fianna Fail seats there. What's your thoughts?
Well, I've been told there's not. So I've been told there's not. Which is
should be seen, Well, how important then? I mean, John Lahart got elected, and you didn't the last time round, but you got co-opted. How important is it then for you to tap into that Fianna Fáil vote? Because you've always been Fianna Fáil.
Yeah, I've always been Fianna Fáil. And I always found a space, and I think we had a chat about this the last time. I always found space in Fianna Fáil for myself. I was proud of Fianna Fáil's history on equality, from Moorgate and Quinn all the way through to civil partnership, and even previous to that, I was always very proud of that, and I found a home for me in Fianna Fáil based on my background, where I come from, and the type of work that I like to do, and and how I go about my politics. So you're referring to the fact that I now have a running mate who was an independent councillor up until last week, or 2 weeks ago at this stage. And look, that's politics, and that's par for the course. I do my job in a particular way. I do my job through hard work, and if you know, and it's important for me that core Fianna Fail voters come out and vote for me.
It's probably important that you get the highest number of votes of the Fianna Fail candidates.
Absolutely. You know, look, on a very, very good day, there could be 2 seats for us, but the numbers show that there's not. The numbers in the last local elections in the area were, you know, show that there isn't 2 seats for us. The numbers in the general election show that there isn't 2 seats for us, and that's, you know, that's the way politics goes. But look, I mean, myself and the team, we've been working away. I'm finding it. And I'll be honest about it. I'm finding it slightly difficult to be out on doors and campaigning, given the month that I've had. But I have a fantastic team. I have a super director of elections, and they've always looked after me very well. So
get the vote out.
Yeah, we've rocked the vote out now. It'd be great. Yeah.
Looking at South Dublin Council now, some of the things that you do out there, I think, are really, really good. Like, I went out to the libraries, and I was at Lucan Library, and they are really positive in terms of LGBT. You've also got the LGBT staff network, and how important then is it to have that support from the council?
Yeah, it is. It's always been there, and it's been great. And the council's very progressive, as you've said. Like, we have a very progressive council. We have a lot of very involved and engaging things that are actually happening in the council. And in terms of we would have various different weeks throughout the year that actually, our social inclusion week would have a huge LGBT focus. Sorry, shouldn't hide there. But that would be something that it has been there at the forefront. So yeah, and even in terms of staff training and staff engagement, and which are always that's a really kind of crucial component. It's one thing, with optics and window dressing. It's another with depth, and I think we have a lot of depth within the South Dublin County Council.
One of the things I want to put to you, because the thing I find South Dublin Council doesn't do very well is actually what I would call engagement with the general public. It's the only council that doesn't have live streaming. You had a vote on it, and you voted against it. What was your thinking on that?
I voted against it at the time based on it was the cost structures. It was the cost structures that were put to us. And they, I just thought that for me, that investment could go somewhere much better. We have done a few different things this year to actually change our public engagement. One of them is my doorstep. We're trying to be more open in that sense. But I suppose in terms of council meetings, for now, if they come back with a better price structure, I might vote against it might vote for it the next time.
Unfortunately, we've run out of time. We might have to get you back for council matters again. But look, it's been a delight to have you back again, Emma. We wish you all the very best on the 24th of May.
My world that I want to have a little pride in. My world, and it's not a place I have to hide in. Life's not worth a damn till you can say I am.